All right, so here we are, and we are starting a new course, new topic. Exciting night. And the topic is Amirah LeNochri on Shabbos, telling a non-Jew to work on Shabbos. This is a very important topic. It finds itself scattered throughout Hilchos Shabbos, but it does start in the very beginning of Hilchos Shabbos. It starts in Siman 243, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the reason for that is simple, because the way Hilchos Shabbos is organized is that it goes in the order of the day. So it starts with Friday, and Friday morning, and Friday afternoon, and then Friday night, and then Shabbos morning, Shabbos afternoon. And then when it comes to Havdalah, then it goes back to the malachas, like what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. But because it has that order, so Amirah LeNochri, is already a halacha that starts on Friday, because you have to know what partnerships you can have and workers and whatnot. So that's why it's there in the beginning of it. Another reason why it's so important is because it is a woefully neglected area of Hilchos Shabbos. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not keep this area of halacha properly. And the reason for that is that, it's just a guess, but perhaps the reason for that is because there are cases that Amirah LeNochri is actually permissible on Shabbos, many cases, many exceptions to the rules forbidding it. And people see, it's allowed here, it's allowed there, and so people make comparisons and they say, well, it's probably allowed here too. And this is actually not proper. As I quote in the paper that I handed out, I'll skip ahead to it right now. Where is it? Here it is. In 1b, the Mishnah Berurah says, Veda. This is in Hebrew, but I'm going to translate. I didn't translate it in the intro, but I'm going to translate as I read it. Veda she'ein medamen davar ledavar binyan hashvusin. One may not compare one item to another item when it comes to things that are forbidden by rabbinic law. You can only permit what the sages said. So we have two different mitzvahs, and they're both important mitzvahs. Both are mitzvahs that are connected to the parshiyas that we're in, by the way. And they're also mitzvahs that are connected to each other. Yet, for one, the Chachamim allowed Amirah LeNochri, that you're allowed to tell a non-Jew, to do work for you on Shabbos, and for the other, they didn't. The one they allowed it for is Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. You're allowed to have a non-Jew do work, Torah-level work, in order for you or any Jew to acquire land in Eretz Yisrael. It's a mitzvah that the Jews should own Eretz Yisrael. When I mean that they should own, I mean to buy it from a non-Jew. I mean to buy it from a fellow Jew. If two Jews are buying land from each other, they wait till after Shabbos. But if you're buying it from a non-Jew, maybe he'll change his mind. You won't get the opportunity to redeem it from him. So you can do it on Shabbos, and he can sign. You can tell him to sign. Yes.
Very interesting. Rabbi Salah, yesterday we talked about if the Moel forgot the knife on Shabbat, he cannot go bring it. He can tell the goy.
Yeah.
It's a very
mitzvah. It's everything to do with fulfilling the mitzvah.
Well, no, that's the whole point. When it comes to bris milah, for example, so there it says you can have, of course, the milah itself is Dochas Shabbos, but the preparation for the milah is not Dochas Shabbos. Anything you could have done beforehand, you have to do beforehand. So let's say you forgot to bring the knife, so you can't carry it yourself. You can have a goy bring it, but only because carrying, according to many opinions, is forbidden by rabbinic law. But let's say you would need the goy to make the knife. Take a lump of metal, make the knife. So that's a Torah level prohibition. That they didn't allow. I mean, the truth is there are some opinions they allowed that too, but the Mishnah Berurah is just taking the opinion at this point that you're not allowed. So concerning one mitzvah, big mitzvah, they allowed it. Concerning another big mitzvah, bris milah is also a very big mitzvah. They didn't allow it. So basically the rule is, he says that there is no rule. That we don't really understand why the Chacham were lenient in some cases and were not in others, and therefore we do not have the authority to compare things. Now there are some things that sages themselves compared, and they said, well, this is allowed, that's also allowed. Okay, they had a deeper understanding than we did. But on our own, we shouldn't be comparing things about this area of halacha because it's very complicated. We might not get it right.
Very interesting why the Chachamim allowed to cook for Chole Sakana on Shabbat.
She'en bo sakana.
Or She'en Sakana. But and here, like the baby, he is breeze is not God forbid Cholesh Sakana, but is the day Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Mal, and they push it because if it doesn't have the knife, you have to build it.
Yeah, that's correct. You can do the bris milah the next day, but the choyle, if you don't take care of him now, maybe he'll get worse.
Sakana.
It's not sakana.
It's not sakana.
Sakana, you don't have to ask a guy. You can do it yourself. Point is, even if it's not sakana, but it's a serious illness, you can ask a guy to do work also. But that's because there's no other option at this time.
You cannot say the baby must be on that day for the milah, otherwise is not really fit. Whatever Hashem said, like.
Hashem said a lot of things. Hashem said to do the brit milah. Hashem said to keep Shabbat. So, yeah, you have to make everything fit. So if you want to make it fit, you prepare the knife before. So we are going to learn the introductions that I sent out. So in 1A, I quoted the Tosfos Shabbos. Again, I only did the Hebrew here. I didn't translate, so forgive me. And the Tosfos Shabbos, in case you're wondering who he was, Rabbi Rafal Meisels in the 18th century. Very famous sefer, commentary on Hilchos Shabbos. Dinim melech Yisrael nasim adei akum and amor b'simanu shel fnei yesh b'hem kama dinim shoynim v'shunim. Excuse me, yesh b'hem mashem mutar l'gamri, mehen tros l'gamri. Umehen mashen asu elim mishum chumra ba'alma. Tzol chalik b'neim b'chilukim dakim hem karam atluim b'sayra. Ki ein lehem rak mokar muat b'shas. Well, the Razagam at Snu Moshim Mesidem El Chasham Meshidim Elo Him as Mitchilos and Wascholis Koshes and Ken Ter Zu Matei Allah. Very strong words. I'll translate. The laws of doing work on Shabbos through a Gentile that are spoken about in the coming sections, they are very different and unusual. Some are completely permissible, some are completely forbidden. Some are only forbidden as a strictness. We have to differentiate between them with very slight differentiations. They are like mountains that are dependent on a hair. That's an expression of the Gemara about Hilchos Shabbos, but he's applying it specifically to the laws of Amirah LeNochri. That it's like a mountain. It's like a very severe violation. But it all depends on a hair, meaning to say on the interpretation, on the exact specific detail of the case. And there's only a small amount of material about this in the Shas, in the Gemara. So it's basically expounding and expounding and expounding, all based on very small amount of source material. And for this reason, he says, even the Tznuim, like even the Talmidei Chachamim, some of them at least, they draw their hands back from Hilchos Shabbos. They hesitate because it's so complicated. And the laws of Amirah LeNochri of telling Gentiles to work is in the beginning of Hilchos Shabbos, so people get scared off and they don't learn it. Not us, of course, Baruch Hashem. But what's going to be with this Torah, and that's why he goes ahead and he tries to simplify it and clarify it, whatever. Tosfos Shabbos. And finally, the introduction to the Mishnah Berurah in Chelek Gimel. Mishnah Berurah's introductions are famous, and this introduction to Hilchos Shabbos explains the importance of keeping Shabbos. And it also explains the importance of knowing Hilchos Shabbos. Because as he says in his introduction, if you don't know Hilchos Shabbos, it is absolutely impossible to keep Hilchos Shabbos. Because there's so many details, things that you think are forbidden and are really permissible, and vice versa. And if you don't learn those halachas, you're just not going to know it. So here we go. I'm going to read the Hebrew and the English. I'll translate it. I couldn't find it in English online anywhere. How is it possible to come to this level to keep Shabbos with all its details? The advice that is given is one should strengthen himself to learn the laws of Shabbos,
Like we do.
Baruch Hashem, and to review them constantly, which is something we're not going to be able to do because we're going to learn for another 6 months. Then we'll go on to some other topic. But everybody in their own time has to review it all the time because these are things that you have to review, to remember. In order to know what's allowed and what's forbidden. If you don't learn the halachas, even if you learn all of the inspirational aspects of Shabbos properly, there's a lot of inspirational components of Hilchos Shabbos, not Hilchos Shabbos, of keeping Shabbos. So you'll be very inspired. Nevertheless, it's not going to help him because you're not going to know what to do. Kinisa Medrash Mishnah, like it says in the Medrash, Adas Chachma Musar, to know wisdom and Musar, which is, how do you translate Musar? Ethics, like rebuke. Let's translate it as inspiration. If you have wisdom, you can also be inspired. If you don't have the wisdom, you're not going to be able to be inspired. What does he mean? If you're mistaken in the essential concept, you don't know that it's forbidden. Oh, shkaya, thank you. How is the musar going to help him? How is the inspiration to keep Shabbos going to help him, says the Mishnah Berurah, if you simply don't know what to do? The same thing here. Sorry? It's not an oinus. It's not an oinus. A person who could learn and doesn't learn is not an oinus. He could have learned and he didn't. So he says, it's called Oimer Mutter. It's called Oimer Mutter. Actually, that's what it's called, Oimer Mutter. Yeah. Yeah. Oimer Mutter, by the way, is Korov Lemezid in Hilchos, Ritzeach. Hilchos Ritzeach. Oimer Mutter is Korov Lemezid. A person who kills somebody else, he says it's Mutter, he's Korov Lemezid. Understand? We don't actually kill him, but he's close. He's close to Mazin. He doesn't go to Gullus. He's not a shogeg. So the same thing. The same thing here. For example, some kind of the words are mixed up here. A person whose animals, I'm just going to read the English, just translate it, because the Hebrew got mixed up somehow when I pasted it in. A person whose animals escaped on Shabbos, chickens, geese, and they're not used to being in the house, and they ran away. Exactly. So a person who grabs them, is that a Torah violation or a rabbinic violation? Chayev. If they are not yet domesticated, they're not yet used to sitting and behaving.
But if it's your dog for your home and you know him, it's okay.
If it's domestic, you're not chayev. It's mutter. But if they're still wild, it's a Torah violation to trap them. even to tell a goy to trap them, to grab them, is forbidden. Because you can't tell a goy to do a Torah violation.
Farm animals too,
If they're not yet domesticated. If you just bought them, if they're still not used to staying in your home, if they're trying to escape, that's not considered domesticated. Domesticated.
Inside the home, or is it in the property itself, like the farm animal?
No, your property. It doesn't have to be your house.
Okay.
If they come back to your pen and they don't run away.
Can we said like the fire, you get benefits in a way? יקבל שכרו, like in the fire.
You think we're going to answer everything just like that? You have to learn. So, if he would have learned the halachas, he would have known the permissible way. It should say. Okay, there's some words missing. I don't know how they got missing. But for example, if he would have learned, he would know that there's a way to capture these animals in a permissible way. So first of all, we're going to have the concept regarding a fire, that you can tell a goy, kol ha'machaba ein mafsid. Whoever is going to put out the fire will not lose, which is kind of saying you're going to gain, like I'll pay you. So that's one option. Same thing here. Whoever saves won't lose. Or another way is to tell him to put it in a pen that you would not be able to grab it right away. You would have to run more than once to grab it, which is a rabbinic violation to put it in such a pen, like we've said. And therefore, you can tell him to do a rabbinic violation in a case of a financial loss. This is one of the exceptions about Amirah LeNochri, that you're allowed to tell a goy to do a rabbinic violation to prevent a financial loss. It's a double rabbinic, because telling a goy to work is rabbinic, and it's a rabbinic in general. So it's a double rabbinic is permissible. There's different opinions about that too, but that's the final halach. So that's the Mishnah Berurah. Okay. Now, with no further ado, what I'm going to do before we read number 2 in the little handout that I gave is we're actually going to learn the Alter Rebbe in the beginning of 243, because he gives a nice introduction as well. So instead of learning it in my words, we'll learn it in the Alter Rebbe's words. And here we go. This is 243 in the Alter Rebbe. Our sages forbade instructing a non-Jew to perform work for us on Shabbos, whether without charge or for a fee. Even if you tell him before Shabbos to do it on Shabbos. Now that's an allusion to another issue, which we're not going to mention until Siman Shin Vav 306. There it speaks about V'daber Dover, things that are appropriate Shabbos speech and things that are inappropriate Shabbos speech. So, just realized I never invited Joseph Goldglans to this year. Give me a moment. Told me he was going to come to Meyer, but maybe he meant to watch it up until Meyer here. Special honor, by the way, to have David Walker here, watching the Shir from Eretz Yisrael, somewhere in the Holy Land. So, okay. So we continue and we say, so there in Siman Shin Vav in 306 it says that if you tell a non-Jew to do work for you on Shabbos, you're transgressing on V'daber Davar, on forbidden speech on Shabbos. Because just like you can't talk on Shabbos about your own work, You can't say, tomorrow I'm going to build this building. Tomorrow I'm going to drive this car. Tomorrow I'm going to make this deal. Things you cannot do on Shabbos, you're not to talk about on Shabbos. So to tell a Gentile to do work for you on Shabbos is included in V'daber Davar, forbidden speech on Shabbos, speaking about work. So here,
I did see Rabbi Shabbat. This is the first time ever. And someone asking about his roof.
no problem. You tell the rabbi, you confess, we'll give you absolution. Go ahead.
I explained to him I can send him money if he called me after Shabbat. So that's it.
You shouldn't have said the word call. You shouldn't have said the word call. You should have said speak. Speak to me after Shabbos.
Yeah, I had the same.
Because
I never.
If you say speak, then he can call, he can speak. He doesn't have to do malacha.
Speak it's
Speak.
different.
Yeah. You're allowed on Shabbat, I don't know if we'll learn it, but in Siman, in that Siman, when it speaks about forbidden speech, it says you're allowed to say to workers, I want to see you after Shabbat. I want to see you. Why do you want to see me? Because they want to work, because you want them to work, but you didn't say it. You just said, I want to see you. That's it.
Is that because you're also discussing something about Chol on Shabbat?
No, you're allowed to discuss things about Chol on Shabbat. If it's not malacha, if it's not actual work. Sorry?
So it's not the best thing to do.
No. It's not advisable to think about malacha. If you,
Safe Robert's learning said it's not advisable to talk about. Obviously, saying everyone can agree that it's advisable not to talk about people on Shabbat. That's probably not a lot. Safe Robert's learning was warning, saying ideally you shouldn't speak to people on Shabbat.
yeah, okay, but that's not because it's a weekday. That's because it's non-holy speech. He doesn't mean weekday speech. He means non-holy speech.
Yeah, no things that have nothing to do with Shabbat.
Exactly, but it's not because it's weekday.
No.
It's because it's not holy. Things that malacha, exactly, you can't talk. On Shabbat, you can't talk divrei chol, not because it's weekday. You can't talk about the sports game, even if the sports game is happening on Shabbat, because it's divrei chol. You understand? It's non-holy speech.
Why would you talk about sports game?
Because it's divrei chol. Not allowed. It's not that you're not allowed. You're talking about midat chasidut.
All right, so you shouldn't.
Midat chasidut, you shouldn't talk about divrei chol, i.e., non-holy matters on Shabbat. But it's not because it's the weekday; it's because it's non-holy matters. As far as the weekday, there's no specific issue about talking about the week. I went here, I went there, I'm going here, I'm going to talk to this. Not malacha.
You can't speak about malacha.
Correct. And if the Mishra did, then you shouldn't think about it either. That's a whole other thing.
Well, with doctors, lawyers,
Yes.
and then I will tell you, I have had rabbis come up to me on Shabbat and ask me legal advice. Rabbis.
Rabbi,
What can I say?
doctor
What can I say?
emergency, they allow to answer the phone, right? If they are on Turan, Shabbat.
Yeah, I mean, if it's an emergency, of course.
The anesthesia, they have a phone, special phone
Okay.
for that.
If the met emergency, of course. Sorry?
The Rebbe mentioned halacha, or the read, was before and on. So on, because I read a lot. What's the reason for before?
So that's what we're saying right here. Here the Alter is saying, even if you speak about it before Shabbos, nevertheless, Shabbos, and even if you don't personally need the work till after Shabbos, he's doing it for you on Shabbos. You didn't tell him on Shabbos, you told him before. And you're not going to benefit from it till after. So what's the issue? When the guy does it on Shabbos, he's doing it as a shaliach, as an agent of the Jew. You read this already? It's okay. It's okay. You're allowed to. The more the better. Well, one thing at a time. Even though we don't say that a non-Jew can be a shliach for a Jew, so too you, also you, should remove the truma. And the word gam atem, v'dor shulchan l'chem said gam l'rabbi shluchachem. The word gam includes not just you can separate the truma, but your shaliach can as well. The agent of a person like himself. And we learn in this very source of the concept of shlichus, we learn. When it says gam atem, also you, it teaches you not just you, but also you. There's somebody else besides you that can represent you. That's your shaliach. But just like atem is b'nei bris, just like you are Jewish, Hashem is talking to you, to the Jewish people in this puzzle. So to gam atem, those that are representing you, your agents also have to be Jewish to be able to represent you. And this is halacha in Kol HaTorah Kula. So you can send a shaliach to be mekadesh a woman, to marry a woman on your behalf, or on the contrary, to divorce a woman, a wife, right? And so on and so forth, and many other things a shaliach is good for, but not a Gentile. A goy is not a valid shaliach. So therefore, you would say the same thing should apply over here. You call makoim, nevertheless, there is sofim yesh shlichus LeNochri lechumra. Midrabanan, a goy is considered a shaliach lechumra for the purpose of being strict. We cannot allow him to be a shliach for the purpose of leniency. When he says he's not going to be able to affect any leniency in any status, but to be strict, we're going to consider him a shaliach. So if he does work for us on Shabbos in a strict way, we're going to say, yeah, he is a shaliach. He's working for the Jew. It's like you're working. He's working. He's doing it for you. It's like you're working. Midrabanan.
The reason that they made this clear was because
coming up. You're preempting. Yesh, before we explain why they made the Gzeira, first he says, V'yesh remez le'isuze b'Shabbos v'yom tov min haTorah. There is a remez, there is an allusion to this prohibition, both for Shabbos and for Yom Tov in the Torah. And by Yom Tov, it says regarding Yom Tov, Kol malacha lo ye'aseh v'hem. Any work shall not be done on them. It doesn't say you may not do work on them. It says may not be done on them. Mashma, it implies even through other people. Thank you very much. Even through other people that are not commanded. In other words, if it would just say don't do work, it would be speaking to the Jewish people. You cannot do work. If it says work shall not be done for you, that means that even a person who is allowed to do work himself, because he's not included in the prohibition, he's not Jewish, lo ye asa, it shouldn't be done for you. So that's an asmachta. That's not considered the simple pshat in the pasuk, but that's how the Chachamim supported from that pasuk. If that's said about Yom Tov, which is more lenient than Shabbos in many ways.
What does asmachta mean again?
Asmachta means a support. It means a biblical support for rabbinic law.
does it actually mean that it doesn't actually mean that they have support.
Yeah.
Does it mean like just for you to like remember or for it to be like cute for everyone to know?
Yeah, when I say support, I don't mean that they said that the Torah means this. They supported it. They said, the Torah has an allusion to it. So we're gonna find an allusion. It's not an Amirah. They're not saying that that's what the Torah meant. They're saying we can associate it. We can associate it with the Torah law. But it's not what the Torah actually means. They're just using the Torah to remind you, to support it, to give it importance. I did come across something that Dirshu brings, I think it's from the Aruch HaShulchan, that the fact that it has an asmachta is why we are so strict with it. Concerning many laws of Amirah LeNochri, we're strict with Maras Ayin, we're strict with B'diavad, and so on and so forth. So he says it's because it has an asmachta. The Gemara brings the asmachta, yeah.
Where's the little sugya that it's found?
Avodah Zarah has about a page and a half about it. And then it's like scattered a bit here and a bit there. Different places. Different places. Many different places. I mean, when we get to each sugi, we'll quote hopefully, so you'll get a better picture of it. Okay, we continue and we say now, in answer to your question, Rafal, what is the reason why the Chachamim made this decree? Why did they consider a goy a shaliach if he's not really a shaliach by Torah law? What's the purpose of that? V'ikar isra Amirah LeNochri, the main isra, the main reason for the prohibition of Amirah LeNochri, that you cannot tell a Gentile to work for us, bein b'Shabbos, bein b'Yom Tov, whether on Shabbos Yom Tov, in the element of Reim is only by rabbinic law. Kedei shelo take Shabbos kala be'enei ha'am v'yavoyu lasis ba'atzman, so that Shabbos should not be light in the eyes of the people, and that they should not come to do it themselves. V'chein b'Yom Tov, the same thing applies to Yom Tov. And the same thing applies to Chol HaMoyed. Whatever you cannot do yourself on Chol HaMoyed, you cannot ask a Gentile to do for you on Chol HaMoyed either. The same is true of every other Isser in the Torah, as will be explained, each one in its place. So, for example, you are not allowed to plant certain trees, mixtures. You cannot hire a Gentile to do that. You are not allowed to mate certain animals with each other. You cannot hire a Gentile to do that. You're not allowed to castrate and sterilize an animal. You can't hire a Gentile to do that. And so on and so forth. Shemitah, the laws of Shemitah and so on. The whole thing with the Heter Mechira in Eretz Yisrael is because if it's Jewish land, you can't tell a guy to work it for you, because it's the same concept. Amirah LeNochri. You cannot tell a Gentile to do something you're not allowed to do yourself.
So you can't tell them to wash their clothes on Chol HaMoed then?
No, that's correct. Can't bring your clothes to the dry cleaners on Chol HaMoed. For that matter, Rahman al-Islam, a person who is in Shiva, he has to close his business. Can't leave it open and have his workers work for him. I mean, partnership is something else, but a regular standard business that he owns, shutuf is something else, just like in Shabbos, a shutuf is something else. We're going to see about it in 245. But if he has workers, just regular workers, cannot work for him. Generally, there is no, I don't think there's a heter for Hefsed Merubah. I don't think so. I mean, in Hilchos Shabbos, for Hefsed Merubah, you cannot have a Gentile work for you straight out. If it's a Maras Ayin case, then we could use Hefsed Merubah. Yeah, but that's all even for the Jew himself, not even a Gentile.
So what if the person is from Shiva cannot run his business?
I don't believe there's a heter to run a business even for Hefsed Merubah. I don't think so. I don't know. It's been a while since I learned those halachas, so I don't know. Okay, so you know what? Before we go back to my notes, let's read Beis, which is continuing kind of an introduction in the Alter Rebbe. Ve'efligu chachamim be'esuzeh v'gazru bo gzeiros. Our sages were extremely strict regarding this prohibition, and they issued decrees concerning it. If a Gentile came along on his own and did work for a Jew on Shabbos, and there was no heter, because in some cases there is a heter, but if there was no heter, so they forbade a Jew to benefit from that work the entire Shabbos, and after Shabbos, until the amount of time it would take to do that work. Because of a decree that otherwise you might tell him to do it on Shabbos. Which, as we learned, when we learned Siman 3:18 a long time ago, that's even more strict than a Jew who does work on Shabbos. If a Jew does work on Shabbos, one may not benefit from it until after Shabbos. I'm not talking about the Jew who did the work. Jew who did the work maybe can't benefit forever if he did it on purpose. But other people can benefit right after Shabbos. But if a Gentile does work for a Jew, then no one can benefit until after Bichdei Sheyasa. Not just after Shabbos, after the amount of time it takes to do that work after Shabbos. What do you mean? As opposed to what?
Other benefits that they might get.
Well, that's what he's talking about. Talking about getting benefit. If it's something you don't benefit from, so then you're not benefiting from. If, for example, the guy is turning off your light, so what's the benefit? The benefit comes in a month when you don't pay the electric bill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's a separate
We study
issue.
he cannot change the status of without telling him on my house. Let's say
I'm talking about Hana. I'm talking about actual Hana. Actual Hana, you cannot get from his work.
So you can have like a person, like a cleaning lady, like a housemaid.
That depends.
That's the question I have.
So that's what she's doing. Here's what she's doing.
Giving her know that my house is clean.
Depends what she's doing. There's different types of cleaning.
The more leniency. The way that they were defined in the olden days.
No, it depends. It depends what she's doing. A lot of cleaning might not be forbidden, and the way she does it maybe is forbidden. But if it's something that is forbidden and there's no way to do it in a permissible way, then they cannot do it. Can't wash your clothes. Can't iron your clothes. They can't do something that is forbidden for a Jew to do under all circumstances. If they're washing the dishes, if they're wiping down counters, I mean, those are sweeping. Those are things a Jew could do, even if they're not doing it in a permissible way. That's not an issue. Now we're going to get to that.
I tricked my daughter when we studied that about benefit. She finds some toy on Shabbat and she picked it up. I said, because you picked it up, you cannot enjoy it. You have to throw it away.
Oh,
What?
don't add to the Torah. Don't add. Don't subtract, but don't add.
She said, no. She argued with me a little bit. I said, no, I can buy you a new one, but this one, you cannot enjoy that.
It's too much.
The ground is that you
It's
can't
too
say-
much.
you can't say that's the Torah that's coming to be they could be
Tosiv, you mean Tosiv. Tigra is to take away. Tigra is to be makel, not nachmer. Tigra means to take away.
She was agreeing with
Tosiv
me.
is to say more than what the Torah says and to say that that's from the Torah.
over here. What's the
To make a fence for the Torah is allowed because you're not saying it's from the Torah. You're saying clearly it's from the
saying
Chacham.
it's the Rabbanan, it's not the Rabbanan. As long as they're saying it's not.
Correct.
But it says, look to see. You shall not add to the Torah.
To the Torah itself.
What I gave you, do not add or subtract.
Exactly. To the Torah itself. Don't say that this is something else.
So they can
A
add
new
anything
mitzvah.
they want. They just can't say that's what the Torah says.
Exactly. I have to say it's.
Do we learn that from someone?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about it. A lot of discussion.
So maybe they'll show me.
I think it's the Rambam. I mean, the Rambam is one opinion, but
Rabbi, I'm sorry. I'm going to say, not because she picked it up, because it was a raining day and it was mud and she squeezed that and cleaned it. I said, because you cleaned that, you did washing, and you cannot benefit of that. Yeah, so she gave it to some another boy, another girl. I mean,
Rabbanan come and say,
this is because she washed that. She fine and then she washed that. So this is the sin she did. She washed in Shabbat, right? All right.
she washed it, Mehmet. How did she wash it?
With the squeeze it, it was raining day.
So she squeezed out the water.
Yeah. So it's meaning she did sin in that, right? All right.
Okay, and I wouldn't let her use it on Shabbat, but after Shabbat, I wouldn't be strict.
Okay.
Rabbi, you see my question?
Did I see your question? Welcome, Yaakov Boyd. How are you?
How you doing?
Baruch Hashem, it's been many years. So I did not see a question because I don't have you on my screen. Hold on one second. Because I have the Alter Rebbe on the screen. The question is, Shalom Yerushalayim is not to be here at Yerushalayim. Wow, that's great. Where in Yerushalayim are you, David? Yata Yovel? Nice. What's an example of the Chumrah for Shlichus? An example of the Chumrah for Shlichus is the fact that we cannot have a non-Jew do work for us on Shabbos or do any of the forbidden things that we're not allowed to do. He cannot cut off a fruit tree. Just like you can't cut off a fruit tree, you can't tell your gardener to cut down a fruit tree. That's a Chumrah. If he does it, it's like you're doing it. Even though by Torah law it's not, or rabbinic law it is. That's a chumrah. So if a non-Jewish maid washes dishes in hot water with a sponge after being asked to dishes, is that Amirah La'akum? Since there's a way to do it. No. That is not Amirah La'akum because you didn't tell her to do it in that way. That's a good example of something that's actually allowed.
She should have known.
What does that mean?
Worked in your house before. She's also raised in shop.
Should have known what?
She should have known that what he said about hot water.
Why does she have to know?
If she knew that on Shabbos, because he was saying that she's deciding to do this on her own. But if
she's deciding how to wash it. She's deciding how to wash the dishes. You told her to wash the dishes.
Right.
I mean, we're going to learn more about it when we get to it. But you told her to wash the dishes. She's choosing how to wash them. So what she's doing is the details of how she's doing it is her choice.
Even if you told her don't use hot
I think
water.
anything she wants to do it.
You still hide from that.
The chiddush is you don't have to tell her not to use hot water. If you told her not to and she did it anyway, machaya, the best.
Right.
Because then she's totally on her own. The chiddush is that even if you didn't tell her, it's okay. That was her choice.
Yeah.
But if you told her for sure,
So it's better to be vague.
in cases like this, yeah, if you, yeah.
טענה שצריך בגופו של היהודי. You shouldn't go into going in melach. As example, so if you light the candle, for sure you're not allowed to.
I mean, in terms of it being forbidden b'diavad, then it's the hana b'gufa shel Yehudi. But in terms of lechatchila, even if there's no hana, a guy generally cannot work for you, even if you're not benefiting. But
A guy feed your animal on his own. Otherwise, you don't have to tell him don't do it,
that's true.
okay? Because you don't have ana b'gufa avoida.
Okay, that's an exception.
Okay. So the cleaning lady.
She's working for
laundry, using the
She's
machine.
working for you. She's not a random guy that sees your animal that's hungry that feeds the goat. Feeds the animal. She's working for you. She's your worker. When she does your laundry, she is working for you.
But even the guy is feeding your animal.
Is not working for you. It's not his job. He's nice. He sees your animal's hungry. He feeds the animal.
Don't talk about guys that actually hired by you.
The guy that's hired by you to feed your animal?
This is around your house the whole year.
No. If that's his job to cut, if his job is to cut grass and feed your animal, he can't cut it. If that's his job, he can't cut it.
So when the main example is the guy feeding the animals, talking about the random guys.
A random guy or a guy that, even if he's working for you, his job is not to do that. If that's his job to do a forbidden thing on Shabbos and he does it, he's doing it for you. Can't do it.
No, feed your animals.
No, he's talking about a case where the guy on his own cuts the grass and feeds it to your animal. That's a case that's going to be discussed later. So you don't have to stop him. That's the halacha.
Well, you're not allowed to have a good cut grass.
That happens all the time. Sometimes they just show up.
That's because they're working for you. They're working for you. And so if they could do it on Shabbos, they're working for you. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. If it's his job to cut your grass, and he comes and cuts your grass, you can't say, well, I didn't ask him to do it. What do you mean? He's your worker. So that's forbidden. On his own, you didn't ask him, he comes and does it, you don't have to stop him.
Meaning you're not paying.
You're not paying him. And you're not benefiting either. The animal eats, big deal.
I'm
Yeah.
Meaning I tell my lawn guy, come every 2 or 3 weeks.
So whenever he comes, he's working for you. Can't come on Shabbos.
I told everybody not to come on Shabbat.
Or Yom Tov.
Or Yom Tov. They know already. They're not coming. One time, the first time he come, I sent them home. He understand that. You understand?
Yeah.
Really. Rabbi, why do you remember we study if I have a man in my house?
Or Chol HaMoed.
Oh, Baruch Hashem.
No. It's Chol HaMoed. People don't know that your gardeners can't.
Chol HaMoed also?
No. Only on Chol HaMoed. The only thing you can do is things that otherwise.
Chol HaMoed, if people they have 10 kids, they have no food, they can go to work.
Who's talking about food? I said your gardener, you have to send them home on Chol HaMoed. That's all.
There's no
Question?
No, I mean, if I have a maid, she's in the house, and she is doing a laundry machine for herself, not for me. It's okay. We studied that. Not for me. It's for her clothes. We studied that a while ago. It's her stuff. She live in the house, maid.
Maybe a problem because of Ashkenazim and coal. Find something's noise.
Also for cooking for herself. She can cook for herself, for her food. We studied that. I think so.
I'm not sure.
I'm not eating her stuff,
I'm not sure. There could be there's an issue of Marasayan when she's using your stuff. When she's using your stuff, it could be there's an issue of Marasayan. I don't know.
Like you cannot do stuff.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Why would he if she's in her room, let's say, I've been in many households, and maid watches TV in her room. The maid's
if she watches,
it's not Marasayan. She's sitting there. She's watching TV. She's not doing it for you. She's a person's watching TV. She's not.
If I hear
Nobody watches TV for somebody else.
If I hear it, I will tell her to turn it off.
I'm just saying, but doing the laundry, I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, if I hear the TV, I will tell her to turn it off. But if I don't hear it,
sometimes you hear it. Sometimes you hear it.
No, if I hear it, I will tell her right away.
Then she's turning it off.
And you're telling her to turn it off.
No, I will tell her.
I can hear it.
No, Rabbi, I can tell her you're not allowed to listen to the music or something like that at Shabbat.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Yes.
And she will put it off. I'm not going to unplug it. For sure.
Yes.
It sounds like they were saying it's allowed, but I'm saying it sounds like it's allowed, but what are you allowed to tell them something that's for sure going to get done? Meaning she's going to shut off the TV for you.
You're allowed to tell her. You can't tell her to shut it off. You could tell her, I don't want you watching TV. Figures it out. That's a permissible hint, actually. We'll learn about it.
Yeah, you say it's. I can hear
Any
it.
kind of permissible hint. I just want to tell her something that we have to.
Like
Hearing it right now.
you go to Yerushalayim and somebody driving, Shabbat, then they will tell him. If he stop in the central cab.
Yes, what do you say? Sorry.
You did see?
Who had a question? Daniel, you were asking something?
Yeah, I had a question.
Go ahead.
We have a gardener who comes every other Tuesday. So
Yep.
if he does that, and what happens like this year when the Yom Tov falls on Tuesday? Can he still come because that's our arrangement?
No, absolutely not. Cannot come on Yom Tov.
What's the question, Rabbi?
If he comes every Tuesday and then Tuesday comes out on Yom Tov, you have to tell the gardener not to come on that Yom Tov. The fact that he usually comes is because it's not usually Yom Tov. When it's Yom Tov, they can't work for you.
What if you're not home and you're a chol?
Then you'll have to pay him.
And you don't know what
Tuesday, you're not even there.
You'll have no choice. You'll have to pay him anyway because he did work for you. But as soon as you see him, you have to send him home.
It'll be half cut.
The gardener himself is Jewish. This is what he do for a living.
Oh, that's for sure.
Gardener is Jewish.
Yeah, I need to go cut grass and follow.
Oh, for the morning, you mean?
This is job.
So it's him said
Okay, if it's allowed for him, then it's allowed for you. If he needs it to feed his family for Yom Tov, then
So you can
then
have
it's
a
okay.
Jewish one.
He's talking about a
You might go to the
Chol
office also sometimes.
Chol Hamoed. He's talking about Chol Hamoed.
You're not allowed to have your garden with yourself.
What?
You said they're upsetting for the goy is not allowed to cut myself.
Because you can't do it. But here it's a Jew.
Here it's a Jew.
When you can't do it, you can't have a guy do it. But over here, the Jew needs to feed his family.
Yeah. Is that a matir?
Just wait for my goy to cut.
So the guy can't even come on Chol Hamoed.
So he doesn't have to do Yantif. He doesn't need food for his family on Yantif. Chol Hamoed. The Jew has to feed his family for Yantif.
So I just wanted to clarify. So you said that he can't even come on Chol Hamoed if he's coming every other Tuesday.
Unless it's the sort of work that you're allowed to do in Chol Hamoed.
No, just he cleans up the yard, the leaves and stuff like that.
Right. Whatever
Maybe
you got to do. Cutting grass, for example, you can't do in Chol Hamoed. Because it's not necessary for Yantif. There's no loss.
But if he's cleaning up the yards because there's leaves all over the place, it makes
cleaning is okay, but usually when they come, they cut, they do whatever. So if you look into it and find out exactly what he's doing, and it happens to be it's all permissible things, or you instruct him exactly what to do, then yeah.
Okay.
On his own. You're hiring for a job that he sets his own schedule.
But you could tell.
You're not saying specifically on
Shabbos.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is actually what this Siman is about. Whenever a day worker works for you, they are your shaliach. You understand? Whenever a worker, when I say a day worker, I mean a person who is paid to do that work. He gets paid to do that work. Whenever a day worker does work for you, they are your shaliach. They are working for you. So even if you didn't tell them to do that work on Shabbos, when they do it on Shabbos, they are actually working for you. Now, of course, if you didn't tell him and you didn't know, and he did it already, you didn't violate. But if you didn't tell him and then you find out, you must stop him. Because at that time, he is working for you. He is considered your shaliach. He's like your agent. Now, this would not be the case, Michal mentioned before, a kablan. A kablan is a person who gets paid by the job. Actually, come to think of it, the gardener is a kablan. Yeah. Come to think of it, the gardener is a kablan because he doesn't have to work any number of hours. He has to finish the job. Whenever he's finished the job, he can go home. If he does the job in 10 minutes, because he has 10 workers running around, that's fine, he can go. If it takes him 2 days, okay, that's fine. That's actually called a kablan, when he gets paid by the job and not by the hour, by the day, or by the month, or whatever. So actually a kablan, if you don't tell him to work on Shabbos, then it's only Maris Ayin, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so the gardener is a kablan in this case. He just,
that's correct.
So it's only Maris Ayin.
It's actually only Maris Ayin. A kablan, it's still asur, but it's less strict. The Maris Ayin is that if they do work, a kablan who does work for you in your property, so there's a Maris Ayin that maybe people will think he's your worker, or maybe you'll actually forget and tell him, don't forget you missed that little corner there, whatever. So those are the two issues with a kablan on your property.
If you tell him not to work on Shabbos, and then he does work on Shabbos.
And then you tell him you miss these parts.
What do you mean then what? What do you mean? As far as what?
You have to pay him at that point? You did the work, but you told him not to.
Well, that's like the cleaning lady that's
they come in once a week to get paid, once a month.
Halachically or by the law of the state of Florida?
As long as they have to pay him, it's in his job.
Halachically, I actually don't know if you have to pay him. If you told him not to work and he works, I mean, laws of Shabbos aside, generally, if somebody does work for you that you don't want them to do, you pay them at a reduced rate. There's halachas about it. You know what I'm saying? There's halachas about it. You pay them a reduced rate. So
the Reichmans have in their contract, anybody who does work on their construction, they can't work on Shabbos or Yom Tov. If they do, and they found out I know the case where they laid tile on Shabbos, they made them rip it out and redo it.
Wow.
And they do it all the time so that people know. Also, there's a guy on the beach, Sunny
Khan.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
nights.
He has a deal, which I don't know if it's legal as far as the state of Florida is concerned, but people who work from salespeople can't be on the property on Shabbos or Yom Tov. If they are, it's goodbye.
Why isn't it legal?
Huh? No,
Florida's an at-will employer.
But most of these people get a commission, so it's a different.
It's his property.
I
You can tell him
understand,
not to
but
be in his
there's
property.
So if you're really strict about these things, people adhere to it. If you're not strict,
They take advantage.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Maris Ayin is a Maris Ayin of a Shvus.
It's not a Shabbos.
No. Shvus is having a goy work. Maris Ayin is people will think that you are having him work in a forbidden way. Really, he's not. Right? It's Maris Ayin. That's the Chiddush. That even though it's only Maris Ayin of a Rabbanon, it's still Asar. I mean, the whole idea of Maris Ayin itself, I don't think is Rabbanon. I think it's Deraisa. Yisim Nekiyim Hashem Yisrael, you're not supposed to put yourself in a position that you'll be suspected. But that you'll be suspected with Rabbanon, that's a Chiddush, that we even go that far.
Maybe they would think that he was doing a permitted. Like, why does it have to be that they might think that he's doing something forbidden? Why don't they assume?
That's the general
right?
thing
Why
with
don't they
Maris
assume
Ayin.
that, when you do another thing, you
That's
go
the
up
general thing with Maris Ayin, that you have to put yourself beyond suspicion. Some people might judge you favorably, Baruch Hashem, they might, but chances are that some people, at least some people, will not judge you favorably, and then they'll be transgressing on the sin of suspecting a person of sinning. And in addition, this will lead them to treat that prohibition lightly, because they'll think, oh, so-and-so does it. Can't be that bad. So that's what Maris Ayin is.
But isn't that chasing after something that's unattainable? There's always going to be one guy who thinks you're doing something that you're not supposed to be, even if 4,000 don't.
No, we're not talking about,
So you can't be above
We're not-
suspicion for everybody.
to the best of your ability, you're supposed to be. We're not talking about, protecting yourself from crazy theories, conspiracy theories. We're talking about just not doing anything that might seem to a regular person like something wrong. Talking about people interpreting who knows what. Talking about straightforward things.
Oh, wait, quick question. You're allowed to fly from here once a Shabbos to LA. By the time you get there, you're passing around zone that actually it's still a Shabbos over there.
No. Okay, that's only in a Concorde. In a regular plane, you don't go faster than the sun.
No, it's just 5 hours to get there. It's 3 hours.
A regular plane doesn't go faster than the sun. A Concorde maybe does. I don't know.
There's,
If you're passing
And we'll stop.
We don't
Sorry?
fly them anymore.
Yeah, no,
so if you're passing by the zone that it's still
It was an
Shabbos over
accident.
there.
It doesn't exist. I'm telling you, today's planes, they don't travel faster than the sun. They just don't. You're asking in theory. When they had planes, they used to have the Concorde. So if you're traveling back from Europe, it didn't travel across the U.S., but it traveled across the Atlantic. If you're traveling across the Atlantic, then it's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. For sure it's a problem.
You can't land there on Shabbos.
No, as soon as you land, it's Shabbos.
Even if you land once the Shabbos in the other zone, but
It can't be. Can't be. If you're traveling faster than the sun, then you're going to land and it's going to be Shabbos, unless you make a circle. If you go from point A to point B and you're traveling faster than the sun, you will land and it will be Shabbos.
So it would be an issue while the land, or would be an issue if you leave the plane? Same thing if you're in a cruise and you can't leave the plane.
As soon as you land. As soon as you land, if it's Shabbos on the ground, it's Shabbos where you are. That's
You're
it.
supposed to cruise, if you're Shabbos on a cruise, you can't leave.
I don't know about a cruise. You asked me about a plane. As soon as you land, if it's Shabbos, it's
No,
Shabbos.
but he's asking if there is a period of time during that travel where it's still Shabbos.
I don't know. That's too
One of the
complicated for me.
Time zones that you are.
It's possible if you make a circle. If you make a circle, it's possible.
Rabbi, the problem
Shabbat.
comes in when you're in Eretz Israel and you keep one day Yom Tov. And the second day is you leave.
Exactly.
And then you land.
Exactly. As soon as you land, it's Yom Tov.
Yeah.
As soon as you land, it's Yom Tov. And what are you going to do? Not going to carry in the airport, not going to get in the cab. That's exactly the problem. If you leave Eretz Yisrael the day after Yom Tov, right? You're keeping one day Yom Tov, depending on your situation. Keeping one day Yom Tov, you travel to Chutz La'aretz, you land, and it's Yom Tov there. As soon as you land, it's Yom Tov for you.
Unless if he's a tourist, it's a one day, right? It's a
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. If you live in Chutz La'aretz, as soon as you land, you follow.
Right?
Okay, that's
That's
different opinions. That's different opinions about that. Different opinions about that. But even if you're Ben Eretz Yisrael, you can't do any malacha publicly, or you can't do malacha at all. Can't do malacha at all, even privately. Put on tefillin and daven and eat Shemona Esrei. Yeah.
You're not allowed to do things with Siman?
No.
One exception for that.
It's
Rabbi,
a
is
machloket, Rabbi, right?
you go
No,
across
it's not a
the
machlokes.
International
It's a
date
mistake.
line before Shavuos. If you cross the international date line the wrong way, then you're off. You might.
Then you're a day ahead.
Shabbos might be the first day of Shavuos here, but it was Friday for you, and therefore, when it comes to Sunday, you're not observing anymore. But everyone else around you is.
That's correct, but you cannot do any malacha. That's the Chabad Shita. You cannot do any malacha. That's correct. That's the general thing. Whenever it's Yom Tov in the area you are, you cannot do any malacha, even in a private room. That's halach and Shulchan Aruch. That is unfortunately not so well known. Okay. וכן אמרי או יסו מלאכה בשבס בשביל פעמים שצריך למחויס כגון אם יגיע ישראל רווח ממנה אפילו לאחר שבס וגם לא מגיע רווח ממנה יספור בסימן רשמם דל ורשמם בייס. Similarly, if a Jew sees a non-Jew perform work on his behalf on Shabbos, there are times, for example, when the Jew will benefit from the work, even if he will derive this benefit only after Shabbos, the Jew must protest and admonish the non-Jew for performing the work. Laws that apply to the Jew and the non-Jew will both profit will be discussed in section 244 and 252. Okay, sometimes you have to protest, even if they did not, if you didn't ask them to do it. Sometimes you must protest. Okay, so back to the introduction that I gave out. Number 2, issues relating to Amirah LeNochri, Shlichos and Dibur. That's what I mentioned before. Shlichus is the fact that he's working for you, he's your agent, and Dibur is the fact that you're speaking about work on Shabbos. And the Avnei Nezer explains the necessity for both of these issues. Why? Because V'daber Davar only applies on Shabbos. On Shabbos, you can't speak about it. But what if before Shabbos you come and you tell him, work for me, please, b'vakasha, on Shabbos. So then he's your shliach, even though you didn't do Dibur on Shabbos, your shliach. On the other hand, if you come to him on Shabbos and you say, hey, Sunday, do this for me, so there's no shlichus, because when he's doing it, it's not Shabbos, but you spoke about it on Shabbos, so there's still dibur. So each one has another aspect.
Are you over an Isser if you tell him to do work for you on Shabbos before Shabbos, because it's not Shabbos yet? It's only once he does the Isser. Is that how it would work?
That's an interesting question. If you tell him before Shabbos to do work for you on Shabbos, I don't believe there is an Isser transgressed until he does the work. Because when you said it, it wasn't Shabbos. And if he doesn't do it, then he didn't do it. So there's no dibur, there's no shlichus.
Yeah, it's only it's only if he really did the shlichus on Shabbos. Then there is I guess retroactively you would be. Would you be chayav retroactively, or just you're chayav on Shabbos because he's doing it on Shabbos?
I think you're chayav on Shabbos.
Yeah.
The fact that you told him to do it makes him that much more of a shliach. You understand? Even in cases where he wouldn't be your shliach, because let's say there is no benefit or whatever, but if you told him to do it, that he becomes your shliach right there. He's doing it for you because you told him to do it.
go to the Malach on Shabbos. You're not allowed to go to the Malach, correct? Because you're going to be like a shliach.
Yeah.
This guy can send someone else to the Malach. Another guy.
On his own, or if you tell him? On his own, or if you told him to tell him?
No, this is the way he's hiring workers, and it's the problem. They have people that work for him.
I mean, if they're going to be working for you, even if somebody else hired them, they're still your worker. You know what I'm saying?
Because you never spoke to him. You never told this guy specific what to do. You told another guy. So the other guy is telling him he's actually the shliach.
Who's paying him?
Exactly.
And you paying the guy that you told him, and the guy that sent him, you paying him.
It's a contract.
You're paying for the
Well,
work.
you're still paying for the
I mean, you can't have anybody doing work. You can't have anybody doing work on your property for you, even if it's a situation that they're not your shaliach. You understand? If it's not on your property, maybe. Maybe. It's on your property, you can't do it, even if he's not a shliach.
Sometimes, you know, is these people, they're working like 3 or 4 houses, and by mistake they do another house. It's not belong to them. So if it's on Shabbat,
You stop them.
yeah, if you're there for sure.
Yes.
And the shul hire a guard for Shabbos and Yom Tov?
Yes. The guard is not doing anything that a Jew cannot do. And if they need a gun because it's dangerous enough for a gun, then it's allowed anyway.
What if they're using a walkie-talkie?
You can go speak to the guy rather than walkie-talkie.
I mean, I'm gonna venture to say that it depends on the exact security needs of the shul. If it's an actual security necessity, so maybe it's permissible under the general guideline of shvus to shvus al yedei goy. Right? Many opinions hold that electricity per se, without any other malacha, if it's just electricity, like a walkie-talkie. Well, I mean, it's making noise is not a malacha. So what is it? It's the fact that there's electrical currents and whatever. So many opinions say it's only the Rabbanan. So you're having many opinions say the Rabbanan. If you go by those opinions, then it's a double Rabbanan for a case of let's say it's a great need. Yeah, but usually these things are set up. I mean, they're not going to come on their own and use walkie-talkies. I'm saying when you get higher security system, you're telling them what to do. I mean, generally. I mean, usually when you set up a security system, you're the one who dictates to them what they're going to do. I mean, they're not going to do things on their own. I assume. I've never done these things. You don't tell them on a weekly basis, but you set up something that is going to work. I mean,
if you didn't tell them specifically, you said you're going to be standing there, you're going to be standing in front of them. Walkie-talkies.
Maybe.
So this is like getting into a strange line, because now, like, what about these I guess temples where they use microphones on Shabbos? Then if they say there's a need, like we have a need, like what's the fine line?
No, I'm not talking about a Jew using a walkie-talkie. I'm talking about allowing the Gentile to walkie.
Oh, I see.
Hopefully the chazan is a Jew. I hope.
So okay. So what about, like, you know, I at our shul they have like a security team on Shabbos, the Jews, and they have the walkie-talkies. I mean, is that
Jews?
You know, I think a lot of people in the shul.
That's a chiddush.
Is that?
They don't use it.
Yeah, they don't use it unless it's necessary.
You talking about Hatzalah or security?
Security.
The security is
I never understood. Yeah.
security is a chiddush to me. I know where I daven in Young Israel, they don't. There's this an Israeli guy comes during the week. He never comes on Shabbos. I asked him, "Do you ever come on Shabbos?" He said, "No, they never asked me to come on Shabbos." So he goes to the conservative place on Shabbos because they don't care. But I'm saying, but they have an arrangement. They don't have Jewish security guys on Shabbos. Hatzalah is something else because Hatzalah, you need the walkie-talkie. You need to find out what's going on. But security.
Okay, I'll ask the rabbi and see what why he permits it or why it is permitted.
The only exception would be if you literally can't trust the goyim with your security. You know what I'm saying? If you're in Israel, you don't trust the Arabs. You don't have anybody else. That's something else. But in America, I don't know. If you have.
Yeah, Young Israel, there's a goy, and there's also Toranut from the two guys from Young Israel. They stand up next to them.
Yeah, but they don't have walkie-talkie.
I give a check. You want me to check?
No. Okay.
Are you checking me if I have a bomb?
Okay. With Hashem's help. With Hashem's help. Okay, so I want to mention Schar Shabbos. Schar Shabbos is something that is only loosely related. Schar Shabbos is only loosely related to this discussion. Schar Shabbos means that you cannot benefit financially from Shabbos, which is not a specific issue with having going work for you, but it is related to it. There are some cases where it becomes an issue if the guy is going to earn money and it's earned from Shabbos or pay you for Shabbos. So, yeah. I did come across.
And just on Shabbos, they went up.
I think it's not more recent.
Even so, it's close, but something was good news came on Shabbos.
Oh, you right away you call your phone. You know. Rabbi, if you don't deal with that, it's different, right?
I did come across something that relates to this, which is with vending machines.
Yeah, the machinery. Yeah.
Where you have, you have soda machines or other things. So Rav Vosner actually says you have to shut them down on Shabbos. That's it. Shut them all down because all the money that comes in on Shabbos is from the Shabbos sales. So, but I did see that Rav Shlomo Zalman is Mekel because he holds that they're paying you for the item. It's not for it happens to be that it comes in on Shabbos, but it's not for the Shabbos per se. In other words, according to him, if it's for the time, it's for the day, or if it's for the work that's done on Shabbos, then it's considered Schar Shabbos. But if it's the item and happens to be that they bought it on Shabbos, then he holds at least that it's not Schar Shabbos.
You sell items on a website. Like a website on Shabbat.
According to that, yes. Yes.
How about factories that are not man-made, like machineries produce, manufacture merchandise?
Can you
according to Uncle Yosef, there's some posting that.
Can you have the machines work on Shabbos? I mean, without any human supervision? If it's possible, without human supervision.
Does it follow me the same thing as the category as the vending machine?
If it's, there's no schar from that. Vending machine is schar. Here, you're not going to sell it till after Shabbos. The only issue with that, if there's actually no human intervention, would be Hashmas call. Would be the fact that people might hear it and think that there's work going on. So there's different opinions about that. Because of Hashmas call. Hashmas call, yeah. I think Sfardim are lenient to Hashmas call. Yeah. So, Maris Ayin will learn about. Yes?
The cooler, it's like refrigerator. You drink from it on Shabbat?
I think so. I do want to mention that there is a type of Amirah LeNochri which is actually forbidden by the Torah, which does not exist anymore as of the Emancipation Declaration, Proclamation, whatever it was called, Abraham Lincoln in 1854, whatever it was. Exactly. Actual slaves in Evet Kanani that belongs to a Jew is actually forbidden to do work for a Jew by Torah law, as is recorded in Aser Sadibris. And you have to, no. Asmachta before is Lo Ye'asa, which is not, doesn't mention a slave, just in general, work can be done for you. But here it's Avdacha v'Amascha v'Amtecha. Specifies your slave, your maidservant, and so on. So that is actually forbidden by Torah law. I don't know if there's any countries that still have slaves, but if they do, that is forbidden by Torah law. And the same thing applies to animals. Animals cannot do work for you, your own animals.
I wonder about basically schedule taxi for right after Shabbos. Or before Shabbos.
Why not?
Or probably they're going on Shabbos to get their.
That's up to them. It's up to them. They can park the car outside your house. They can park it there Friday afternoon and walk to your house and pick it up.
An issue in Israel, Arab Shabbos.
And Israel is a different story because you're talking about Jewish drivers. You cannot cause a Jew to drive on Shabbos for himself, not just for you, to go back or to meet you after Shabbos either right away. Right? You shouldn't take the first bus after on Motzei Shabbos. If the driver had to drive to the station and to you on Shabbos to get there. You should wait till there's time enough for him to.
I still ask the same question about the airport in Israel. There's clearly preparations going on before Shabbos. The airport is open. And like so many people fly out on Motzei Shabbat.
I don't know.
What if somebody gets
go, it'll take 2 hours after Shabbat, 3 hours after Shabbat.
No, but his question is, it takes a long time to prepare these planes, to prepare these things. If they have enough time, they have enough time. I don't know.
It's the amount of time it takes. It's not, did they do it or not?
Right.
I know somebody that's a surgeon. I mean, somebody explained to me after, and I said, oh my God, I'd never heard of such a thing. But that he has already an agreement before Shabbos. I don't know if he does, but he has an Uber driver pick him up. He's a doctor. He has to enter a certain time at the hospital as a surgeon. So he has an Uber driver, and it's like literally like an hour or two before Shabbos ends. And they pick him up, and he goes inside.
Yeah,
they open the door, he goes inside.
A surgeon is
Why on Shabbos? Why does he go on Shabbos?
Because there's certain, I don't know the specificity, but he explained this to me. I was like, saw this right in front of me. So I was like, well, this is a little bit weird. The guy
How does he know in advance? How does he know in advance it's going to be an emergency? I don't understand.
Never in advance is that he has to enter a certain time.
Why?
Beats me. I mean, I just saw this right in front of me.
Beats me too. Beats me too. I don't know. How does he know in advance it's going to be an emergency? And if there's not, then how is he going in?
If he's the Rafet Torah, Rabbi?
Obviously, it's not an emergency.
It's not an emergency. So then,
Okay,
that's not a head.
Yeah,
He's like, even though he has to be on call on certain such and such times.
No. Being on call is not an emergency.
So back to the airport thing.
I mean, doctors that are on call, as far as I know, don't come in. They only come in when they call them. That's what on call means.
I mean, this guy was
When
a
they're
guy. I mean, it's like,
He has a shift. He has a shift.
yeah, he's a shift.
Rabbi, just back to the airport thing. You have a flight here on El Al that leaves on, let's say, Shabbat. It's around 11. In the summer, they are definitely telling people get there 3 hours ahead of time. So you know they've got Jewish security crew and Jewish people preparing on Shabbat.
It's a problem.
Should you be taking
It's a problem. If it's a flight that they have to prepare for on Shabbos, it's a problem.
Unorthodox has nothing to do with Orthodox. A Jew is a Jew.
They need to be 3 hours before. It's meaning a midnight.
If it's a flight that they have to prepare for on Shabbos, I don't think you should take it. I don't think so. Just like the taxi in Israel and the bus and all of that, I don't see any difference. You cannot cause or be part of a cause of a Jew working on Shabbos.
But Rabbi, if the flight is a 3 hours, it's Shabbat.
I'm not saying the details.
They will not drive in Shabbat.
Depends on the details.
Yeah.
Depends on the details. Okay, so actually relating to this, I saw a discussion about renting cars to a Jewish person. I don't know what they do in Israel, but to rent a car.
Doesn't matter, but they're still going to.
That's nice. That's nice. But what's the heter? What's the heter to rent a car to a non-from Jew
The company
over
is,
Shabbos,
knowing
Judge them favorably?
knowing if they're not from that they're gonna drive on Shabbos?
It's your car, wouldn't be mine.
if
I'm not talking about your car. I'm talking about the rental car.
if you drive in, if you rent it on Thursday, it's not your business what he's doing with the car. If he, on
You're
Shabbat,
enabling
you
a
open
Jew
rent.
to work on Shabbos. You're enabling a Jew. You're helping, more than enabling. You're helping.
Rabbi, he will rent to any another place.
That's a goy. I'm not talking about a goy. I'm talking about a Jew.
Rabbi,
A goy is Friday, whatever.
he will rent for different
But a
place.
Jew, because the goy, the whole thing is it looks like he did it for that purpose. It looks like he's working for you, whatever. But a Jew, renting it to him, including Shabbos, even if it's Sunday, but including Shabbos,
It's not. I think. It's
I
okay.
didn't find a heter for it. I just saw the issue brought up and I didn't find
I
it.
think it's okay because you rent it on Thursday, and whatever he's doing until next Thursday, it's not your business. It's not our business.
The only thing I did come across is that Rabbi Vosner says that if you tell him
Not to drive it.
not to drive it on Shabbos, then at least you've absolved yourself of.
Then
of
Rabbi,
sin.
you
even if he's not
Rabbi.
going to listen, as long as you told him.
The
It's
Rabbi,
like a caveat.
That's like when you're in Israel and a Jew pulls up and asks you for directions.
Then you're telling him to go.
Yeah, but you got a double issue. If you tell him, if you give him directions, you're enabling him. If you don't give him directions, he may be taking a longer route, and now he's driving more and being Machal Shabbos.
I don't think you're supposed to tell him.
So I read there's a rib yet.
That says
Rib
what?
said there is a correct way. You're supposed to tell him, you're not supposed to be driving on Shabbos, but the shortest way there is this.
Uh-huh.
What if you're standing with another from Jew and now you have a straw and another guy's had these?
I don't know.
So, Rabbi, if you tell a Jew not to drive your rental car on Shabbos, can you charge him for Shabbos?
Tax you.
Saying if you have another couple guys with you, so you warn them you're not allowed to drive in Shabbat.
I'm sorry?
Tell them what that is.
Yeah, you did tell
You
him.
tell them
I'm sorry?
what
If
it
you
is.
rent a car
No,
to
you
a
didn't
Jew,
tell him.
Yeah.
and you tell him on Shabbos he's not to use the car,
Yeah.
can you charge him for Shabbos? It's paid by the day.
I guess not, based on that. I don't think so.
Rabbi,
By the way,
but
I don't think so.
we have an issue. If I tell the rental not to drive in, he said, "No, I want to drive in," then you have more problem than you don't have.
Yes, I hear. I want to read what Yaakov was saying. A Jew must not instruct a non-Jew on Shabbos to perform a melach on Shabbos itself because doing so contravenes the melach in two ways. The non-Jew acts on behalf of the Jew in performing the malacha, and the Jew expresses an intent for the malacha to be performed in violation of himself. Secondly, a Jew must not even ask a non-Jew during the week to perform malacha on Shabbos as an aspect of shlichus asfel me'elakum. Although one will not be in contravention of himself, since one is permitted to talk on malacha during the week, even if it pertains to work intended for Shabbos. That is correct, and you can add a third thing that on Shabbos you cannot tell him to work after Shabbos, because that's b'mtzach, even though he's not going to be a shliach on Shabbos. Okay, we continue, and we say,
Back on D. What does gufo nana mean? What was that?
if your body benefits from the work of the Gentile, it's more strict. And we're going to see later that there are cases that you must protest because of gufo nana. So there are cases when if a Gentile decides on their own to work for you, you don't have to stop them. But if it's a case of gufo nana where you're going to benefit bodily from the work, then you must stop them. So the simple example of this is a light. Turning on the light where you're going to benefit from the light, that's gufo nana. So the halacha says that you have to stop him. not only can you not tell him, but if you see him doing it, you have to stop him. The same thing is true about cooking. If the non-Jew is cooking for a Jew, even besides the issue of bishul akum, because let's say the fire was on before, but it's a question of guf enena, your body is benefiting in terms of eating that food. So that's a situation where even if he does on his own, you have to stop him. And even if you don't stop him, you cannot benefit until after Shabbos, b'chdei sheyas.
Okay, and also when you and under Schar Shabbos, great financial loss. What was the example there?
I came across that there's a machlokes about if you're allowed to accept Schar Shabbos in a case of great financial loss. Meaning to say, if money came in on Shabbos, you didn't expect it. It came in on Shabbos, and you can refuse it, but it's a great financial loss. I'm not talking about the fact that you could gain. There's two things.
No, they didn't get a tax deductible.
There's two things. There's a financial loss, and there's the lack of a gain. The fact that you can't get Schar Shabbos in general is a lack of a gain. We're not going to say, well, Nebuch, you're not going to make money. You're not going to make a lot of money. We'll let you do it, because then the whole halacha falls away. It's talking about money that's already come in. You can tell the goy, I'm not accepting it. Keep it, even though it's money that rightfully belongs to you. But because of Schar Shabbos, I'm not going to accept it. Or maybe some say that if the money is already technically should be yours, and it's only Schar Shabbos that prevents you from taking it, if it's a great financial loss, some allow you to keep it. Okay.
I'm getting one from Wednesday on the Shabbos, but the Sunday is on Friday night. Is the problem to every ticket?
It's an interesting shaila. I don't know.
What's the question?
Hoping this 1.6
When is it? It's on Shabbos?
No, the 1.6 on Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay.
So what would be an example of the money coming in on Shabbos? Like somebody just dropping an envelope off, or?
No, I mean, it's in 244. Hopefully we'll get to it. The example is given in 244, so we'll get to it there.
So how do you answer?
I don't know the answer.
Should I continue avoid, or is it no problem?
I don't know the answer. I don't know. Schar Shabbos is one of those complicated things. I don't want to commit to it. If I come across it, I'll tell you, but I don't want to commit. Very good. Very good. Okay. So I do want to mention the definitions of Schir Yom and Kamlin. We mentioned this briefly before, but I just want to go over them again. A Schir Yom is a day worker. A day worker has to work for 9 hours or whatever. Whether he's hired by the day or by the week, by the month, by the year, but he has to report to work, and he punches his card, and way in, way out. And the work that he does for you is considered to be working for you. He's working for you. And that's as opposed to a Kablan, where a Kablan has to finish the job, and he's not tied down to any specific time.
You pay a lump sum.
You pay a lump sum, whether it's to build a house, whether it's to wash the car, whether it's to clean your clothes, whatever it is. That's called a Kablan. And the Kablan is considered to be working for himself. He's an independent contractor. Even though you're paying him, but because he dictates when to do it, so on and so forth, and you're not paying him for the actual time, but for the job, so he's considered to be working for himself.
It's different.
Mashgiach is a schir yoim. He's paid by the hour, but on the other hand, he's not doing a forbidden work. What is he doing? He's supervising the kashrus. He's not doing any forbidden work. On the other hand, it's a Schar Shabbos question. He's getting paid for work that he's doing on Shabbos. So the only heta that I know of is that he has to do the work b'havla he has to do the work of Havlah together with some work not on Shabbos. That means when you get paid for Shabbos, if you get paid in a lump sum together with non-Shabbos work, then it's okay. So, for example, I lane, they pay me for laning, but I also lane on Monday and Thursday and Rosh Chodesh. So when they pay me per week, and that week includes Shabbos work and week work.
What if it's a one-time thing?
Then it's difficult. Some are makel for a mitzvah. Some allow you to take schar Shabbos for a mitzvah. So according to that opinion, you could take kriya or for mashgiach kashrus. You're making sure it's kosher. It's a mitzvah.
So some synagogue they pay kids to come to do Shabbat on the synagogue, so they have more minyan.
Right.
So this is okay, right?
I mean, if you want to do the schar Shabbos in the best way, you include some work during the week. That's the best way.
So
very schwach.
So I should tell him.
Because they don't care about your preparation. They only care that nobody.
Yeah, right. Go up to the Torah and make 500 mistakes.
They don't care about your preparation. If you prepared and you made 500 mistakes, you're in trouble no matter how much you prepared. And if you didn't make any mistakes, even if you didn't prepare an ounce, you're fine. They're not paying you to prepare. They're preparing you to do a good job. It so happens that most normal human beings have to prepare to be able to do a good job. But there are people who know that, there's a system. I never learned it, but there's a system to know. If you know beginning and end of every pasuk, somebody made a system to figure out the trup. For sure, the words, I mean, that goes without saying, grammatically, you can figure out how to pronounce it if you know the rules of grammar. But even the trup, there's a system to figure out how to sing it. All you have to know is the beginning and end of every pasuk. That's what I heard once.
And the rest is going to make sense.
The rest, based on the
combination of the
exactly that whatever. I don't know if it's true, but that's what somebody told me once. Anyway.
Rabbi, so if he's come to talk somebody for Shabbat for $100, I will tell him, pay me for Tuesday 100 and Shabbat 100 is 200. So it will be.
If you're working on Tuesday, what do you mean? If you're not working, what are they going to pay you for? Okay. So exceptions. Number 7. Here are some exceptions to the rule against Shabbos work. Double D'Rabbanan, we said already. That means telling a goy to do an Issa D'Rabbanan is permissible in some situations. We're going to get to that in 307. Bein hashmashas, Rabbi Isai. This is important. I was asking a question, I'll get to that shortly. Bein hashmashas means that in the beginning of Shabbos, before the stars come out, so even though it's Shabbos and you can't do any work yourself, but it's more lenient in terms of Amirah LeNochri. You can tell a Gentile to do work in Bein Hashmashas, even a Torah level work, if it's a necessity or if it's a mitzvah. A classic example of this is the Psak of the Alter Rebbe, which the Mishnah Berurah disagrees with for information. But the Alter Rebbe paskins that if a woman didn't get a chance to light Shabbos candles, and now it's the sun already set, you can tell a goy to light one candle, and then she can make the bracha on that one candle. After the sun sets. After the sun sets. During Bein Hashmashas. During Bein Hashmashas, you can tell a goy to do even an Issa D'Oraisa for the purpose of a mitzvah.
Rabbi, I mean, when Shabbat it's in, before, before 15 minutes, you have the men 15 minutes extra.
That's before the sun sets.
Before the sunset.
Yeah, so even a man has to add.
This is Bein Hashmashot?
No, there's not Bein Hashmashot. This is before the sunset. Even a man has to add some time. But whatever it is, but after Bein Hashmashot, after the sun sets, then there's no question a Jew cannot do any work.
Bein Hashmashot?
Bein Hashmashot is until the sunset, until the stars come out. During that time, a Gentile to work for a Jew if it's a case of a mitzvah or a necessity.
The woman blesses before the cut, she blesses before the mitzvah.
Blesses. What do you mean blesses?
Makes a bracha on the cut before the
Yeah.
Would she be able to make the bracha on the goy lights?
What do you,
You're talking about a Ben Hashmashas or in general? What's the difference what the order is?
No, it's done.
I don't think
I
it
don't
makes a
understand
difference.
the question.
I don't make a difference. I don't think it makes a difference. There is a machlekes about the in this case where the goy is lighting. There's a machlekes if she can make a bracha or not. Alter Rebbe says yes because the benefit of the lighting is exactly being drawn from making the bracha on the benefit of the light, even though she's not doing it. The Mishnah Berurah says you can't make a bracha because the action of the mitzvah is being done by the non-Jew. How do you make a bracha on the non-Jew's action? So, but I don't think the order makes a difference. I don't think so. Those that allow you to make a bracha.
Would Alter Rebbe say it's you'd be allowed to tell the goy to do that if you have light in your house like nowadays? That's the whole reason for benefiting from light. Maybe back in the day you needed something. So big take away from Shabbat to not have a light. If all your lights are on in the house, it's as light as is in this room, and then you tell them to light a light, maybe it would be different.
It's a good question. Basically, the question is when we allow you to have a good do it, is it for the mitzvah of Shalom Bayis and Kavod Shabbos, or is it for the mitzvah of Hadlakas Neres Shabbos per se? You know what I'm saying? In other words, Lamaisa, you're going to have Shalom Bayis and you're going to have honor of Shabbos because your meal has light, but you didn't fulfill the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles because you didn't turn that light on the Kavod Shabbos. Most poskim say you could turn on electric lights and even say a bracha on them the Kavod Shabbos. But if you didn't do it, okay, that's something else. But I'm saying in theory. But the question is, you didn't do the Kavod Shabbos, so you're going to have the Kavod Shabbos, but it wasn't conscious. So when we say that you could do it, that's the question. That's what it hinges on. I'm not sure. I had a similar shaila once with. It was like I don't remember exactly the situation, but it was a situation where women did not light. I think it was Shabbos. Yom Tov was Friday, and they didn't light Shabbos candles. They took a nap. Friday afternoon it was Yom Tov. You know what I'm saying? And they overslept. They woke up. It was already Shabbos. It was too late to light. Which Yom Tov can be on Friday? 3-day Yom Tov, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos.
It's a sin not to light the candle, Rabbi?
It's not doing a mitzvah. So I asked at that time, with an Eretz Yisrael, I asked Reb Zalman Nechemia Goldberg, and he wasn't very bothered by it. He said, "What do you mean? They had plenty of light. They had the electric lights. Big deal." He was.
Did you have to have a
I
candle?
mean, the question is.
That's what he said. She didn't. That was the question. They have to add a
No,
candle, and he said as long as they had electric lights, they don't. But I've asked the same question to other Rabbanim, Abba Heller from Crown Heights, and he said absolutely they have to have a candle because he obviously holds that it has to be the Shem Mitzvah Shabbos. So I don't know exactly. I can't answer the question. But I can say that David is saying, if a non-Jew who's your neighbor is watering his plants on Shabbos and some of the water is going on your plants and you see him doing this, you're required to tell him to stop. Is this correct? I don't think you have to tell him to stop. If he's watering his own plants and some of it happens to be going on yours, I don't think he's really doing it for you. I don't think you have to tell him to stop. Unless it looks like he's doing it for you, it's Maris Ayin. I don't know. Doesn't sound like a problem. Okay, settling our store we discussed already. Settling disgrace of holy items in 334. You are sometimes allowed to tell a goy to put out a fire to stop the fire from burning holy items. pain to animals. We're going to see there are cases you are allowed to tell a goy to do work to prevent an animal from being in pain.
Or
From being in pain, Sar Balachayim,
okay.
to prevent Sar Balachayim. G, 7G, situation where a person is so stressed that they may do it anyway. We're going to see in some cases where the Chachamim felt that the person was going to be under such great stress that if we don't give him a heter, he's going to do it in a forbidden way. They allowed Amirah LeNochri. A prime example of that is carrying on Shabbos. So Shabbos is coming in, and you have your wallet, and you're stuck. There's no eruv.
It's in your pocket?
It's in your pocket. Shabbos is coming in. What do you do? So there's a whole Gemara about it. And one of the options is to give it to a goy. And the goy carries it for you, even though you're telling him to.
That's if you know the goy. If you don't know the goy, the wallet is gone.
That's true. You have to make sure you know. But the heter is that the Chachamim felt that if they didn't give you a way, in a permissible way, you'll end up doing it in a forbidden way.
If you didn't know there's an eruv. I think there's an issue to tell another Jew there's no eruv, and he didn't know about it. For example, the air's down, and somebody's already walking Shabbos, and they have something covering their head, their hat from the rain, or they have the keys, the house keys, and you tell them while they're already walking, there's no eruv.
You have to tell them what to do. There's a protocol.
At that point, you can't.
There's a protocol.
Bye-bye.
There's a protocol for what to do. When a person is carrying without an eruv, there's a protocol what to do. You can walk very quickly or even run till the Rishus HaYachid and throw it in Kala'achar Yad. Without stopping. You can't stop. If it's something that's expensive, you know what I'm saying? Like something that's tissue, we just throw it down. It's no big deal. Something that you need, so that's the protocol. So if you tell them and they stop, that's not allowed because stopping is the problem. But if you tell them, don't stop, continue walking, but there's no eruv, and now we're going to run or walk very quickly till a safe place, and we're going to throw it in Kala'achar Yad. That's the protocol.
Think of the wallet, the guy's going to run away with the wallet.
Oh, obviously, it's you don't tell it. The guy is going to run away with it. But another option, by the way, for a place the eruv is down or whatever, another option is to pass it back and forth, and that works even if he stopped. Pass it every 4 amos.
With the two people together,
two people yeah.
together, right?
Yeah.
Rabbi, but if you have a rule, and someone has a wallet in his pocket, I mean, you didn't know, then you can go back home and just change the jacket.
Yeah. Correct.
Usually when you tell someone not to stop, they stop. As soon as they find that the eruv is unkosher, like, what?
No, you don't tell them the eruv is not kosher. You tell them, first of all, continue walking. Second of all, here's what you have to do.
So to pass it from people to people, you can take all the jackets and pass, instead the wallet, all the jackets you passed one to one?
That's true. Yeah. It's muktzah. It's complicated. It's complicated.
The jacket?
Yeah, I don't know if it's muktzah.
The wallet is the muktzah, right?
Yeah.
So it's better to do the jacket than
the wallet you won't be able to pass. The jacket, I think, yeah.
One person or two person together?
Two persons.
Always.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, psikresha, we mentioned already that you can, did we mention? We mentioned in the past that if you tell a Gentile to do something that is not a malacha, but it's going to cause a malacha to happen in a definite way, that is not forbidden according to the rules of Amirah LeNochri. Not forbidden. Meaning to say the example of that was, we discussed it in the past, opening the refrigerator, the light's going to go on, but that's not your intention. You don't care about the light. That's called a psikresha, which is forbidden by Torah law for a Jew to do. but it's not forbidden for a Gentile, for a Jew to tell a Gentile to do it.
And the guy can, after just put the switch off, they can remain off.
Telling him to take the switch off is problematic. Telling him. If you hint it to him and he does it on his own, that's okay. But telling him directly.
The refrigerator, the light's gonna be on.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
And if it's like already your neighbors that they already been trained, and so like I forgot the light in my refrigerator, and they come in and do what they have to do.
As long as you don't tell him.
You just say I forgot my light in the refrigerator.
As long as you don't tell him. It's okay.
I don't see an exception. And listen, there's a public need. Somebody's gonna, again, you show the light, turns the light off. Isn't that an exception that you can tell them?
I mean, turning off a light is actually not a need for the shul. Turning it on is a problem.
It's not just a thing as when it benefits a multitude of people.
Benefiting a multitude of people is a reason perhaps to be lenient in a case of a double rabbinic violation. So, for example, let's say turning on the AC. So in a case when it's very hot, so you could turn on the AC even for a private person because extreme heat is considered dangerous. But a case where it's just not comfortable, so then for a community, so the needs of the community is considered a great need. And there's room to allow a shvus to shvus. That means a double rabbinic violation. That means the air conditioning is not necessarily a Torah violation, because electricity per se, like I was saying before, if it's not an actual malacha, like cooling air is not one of the 39 malachas. It uses electricity, but it's not a malacha per se. So some say that's rabbinic. So telling a Gentile to do it is a double rabbinic. So for a public need is there's room to be lenient. But on the other hand, to turn a light on, which, I mean, the truth is it depends on the type of light bulb. That's also complicated. But if it's an incandescent light bulb, then it's a Torah violation according to most opinions. And to have a Jew, a non-Jew do a Torah violation, even for a community, not simple. Not simple. It's not simple. I know places do it. Maybe there's a heter, but it's not simple. It's a difficult heter. It's a difficult heter. I don't know. Maybe we'll come across something. I don't know. We still have a few months. Okay.
If a guy turns on a light.
Yes.
And you say, oh, I didn't want that on. Is that acceptable? Can you? Because then they'll turn it off.
That's perfect. Yes. That's an example where it's ein gufay nene. Your body is not benefiting. So the darkness is not. He's not creating the darkness. Just removing the light. So as long as you don't tell him to do it, that's an example of something that's actually allowed. It's called a permissible hint. We're going to learn more about that.
So you're saying you could say turn it off?
No. That you can't tell him directly because then he's working for you.
But there's a machloek, there's a choshek mitzvah, not why it's not choshek, it's the other.
I don't know. That's Hasidus. I don't think that relates to this. Okay. Lefikach, misheyesh lamerchat shorechat simba. Back to the Alter Rebbe Gimel. A person who has a bathhouse that they bathe in it, v'noistam leschar, and they pay him. Or they pay him rent. Okay, you know what?
1 second, before you go there. The whole week, mikveh is $3. Come Friday night, it's $5.
Friday night or Friday afternoon? Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon.
Huh?
Friday afternoon, not Friday night. Friday afternoon.
Afternoon, yeah.
Yeah.
Become time. Why? To cover the mikveh from Shabbos day.
Perfect.
Why perfect?
Havla. Schar Shabbos is mutter b'havla. You're allowed to take money for Shabbos as long as you mix it in with money for the week. Okay. So I actually don't want to learn this Siman inside because it's a long Siman, and I do want to cover ground. So I'm just going to tell you Baal Peh, what it says.
You mean the Seif Gimel?
Sif Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, the whole Reish Mem Gimel. Here goes 5-minute version of Reish Mem Gimel. Okay? I'm just telling you what they say. I'm just telling you what they say, and if you want to read it on your own.
5 minutes, no question.
The whole Siman, Reish Mem Gimel.
Gimel is 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, no question, guys.
Yep.
You got 5 minutes.
5 minutes. You ready?
Yes.
But it's 10 times the Seif.
You're welcome to read it yourself. I'm going to give you an overview. I'm not giving you all the details. I'm giving you an overview. Here's the overview.
You just missed us 1 minute.
Bezrat
Come on. Go ahead, Rabbi.
Bezrat Hashem. So here's the thing. When it comes to businesses that you want a goy to run on Shabbos, so the general rule is a goy can rent property from you and run a business on that property. So, for example, you have a mill. They used to have mills where they ground the grain into flour. He rents it from you. He makes the money. He pays you rent. The same thing with a bakery. It's your bakery. He rents it from you. Why not? No, during the whole week. The whole week. No, perfect. No problem. Now, in all of these cases, if he's your worker, right? He's your worker, and you pay him by the hour to work for you, right? So that's going to be a very severe violation. Right?
Every month is different.
No, same thing. Hour, day, week, month. He's your worker.
Yeah.
You're paying him to do the work. So those are a problem. Now, in terms of Maras Ayin, here's what we learn here in this. If it's a type of business that is usually run in such a way that the owner of the business does not rent it out, but he hires workers, so then he cannot even rent out such a business to a goy, because people are going to assume that the goy is a worker and didn't rent it. Because in those days, there were some businesses that they would always rent, they would always have workers, they wouldn't rent them out. For example, a bathhouse. A bathhouse, basically the profit margin was so slim that people didn't want to rent it because you paid rent and then you made so little money, it wasn't worth it. So they wouldn't rent it out. They would the owners of the bathhouse would keep the business for themselves and they would hire workers. So in such a place, you were not allowed to even rent it out because people would assume Maris Ayin that you actually had workers. But a type of business that is normal to have renters, you could rent. So that's basically the overview of Siman Reish Mem Gimel. There's a lot of details in it, but that's.
You're going to make a contract, they're doing the same thing, like a store in the mall that has to open on Shabbat.
Like an owner of a mall. People rent locations. He rents the locations for these people and they have their own stores.
Right, well, that's not just for Shabbat, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like I've been to a mall. The owner is Jewish, but he rents
Right, we're saying here just rent that for Shabbat, right?
No, I'm talking about renting even during the week. I'm talking about even renting during the week. Yeah. So here's the thing, an example that comes to my head now of Maras Ayin. Let's say you have a business that is yours on 6 days a week, and you have a partner, an actual partner, a goy that's your partner that runs it on Shabbos and keeps the profits of Shabbos. We're going to learn about that in Reish Mem Hey. 245 is a whole Siman about partnerships with a goy. And there are permissible ways to make the partnership. But all of that is only permissible if it will be clear that the goy is your partner. If it's a situation that it looks like it's your business, even though he is your partner, that's going to be a Marasayan.
Maybe clothing store.
Exactly. It has to be Levi and Jenkins or something, whatever.
I was renting a bakery different than renting a car.
One second. One thing at a time. How is renting a bakery different than renting a car? So, I mean, whenever you rent a car, you're not doing the work. You're renting him the car, and he's using the car. So that's for sure. The only difference is that in those days, in some bakery, in some places, it was not normal to rent out bakeries. The owner of the bakery always owned the whole business, and he would only hire workers. So if you rent it out, people are going to think, even though you did rent it out, people will think that these are your workers. You understand? They won't realize that it's renters. That's why it's a problem of Maras Ayin. But in a place that it's normal to rent it out, no problem. You can rent it out.
So you can set somebody's in office space within your office, and they're like, so happens they're not Jewish, and they still go into your store, into your office, and
it has to be done in a way that there's no Maras Ayin. Everything is different. Every detail is different, but it has to be done in a way in Maras Ayin. But one interesting thing I did see, which Rabbi Vosner says, and we have to have Meyer, but I'll just mention it. There is one thing that Rabbi Vosner says which is very interesting. It talks about a case where it's not normal in that place to rent it. In that place, everybody that owns the business runs the business. But if you've already been renting it out to a goy for years, 2 years, not on Shabbos, just during the week. So everybody knows by now, you rent it out. So then you could start renting it for Shabbos too. But that's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. Rav Vosner adds that nowadays, if you put an ad in the paper, it's even better than 2 years. If you put an ad in the paper, announcement, my business is now a partnership between this and that. You know what I'm saying? Or anything like that. He doesn't go into that detail. But in general, he says, publicizing something in the papers is as good or better than 2 years of something, being a certain way. But that doesn't mean that in 2 years from then, people will forget the ad and they see your name. You know what I'm saying? The details you have to figure out. But in general. Siman Reish Mem Gimel, I was Reish Mem Gimel. Tomorrow, I'm going to look over 243 later and see if there's any detail that I feel is important, and we'll finish that up, and then we'll go to 244. Meyer, yes. I said that? I said Cholamoid. I didn't say before Shabbos. I said Cholamoid. Before Shabbos, we'll learn about it, but I don't see why not. Why not? We'll see. When you there's a mind stuff, process of only from zero. Picking up on Friday. It's too complicated, not now. Too complicated. We'll learn it. We'll learn about it. It's too can't answer in 30 seconds.